So I had a request to do a video on my welding setup and what I've been using to weld on my boat. This here is the spool runner, or the Hobart Handler 190, and it came with the spool runner 200 spool gun. I picked it up at Northern Tool and Hydraulics. I think it was right around $900. And then I picked up this cart from my local hardware store. So that was like 40 bucks. And then I bought a tank of argon, just a little one. I wish I would have bought a bigger one. And it's just this little guy back there. I have to, I gotta upgrade that here pretty soon. But anyways, this here's the spool gun. It's a little dirty from all the welding, and it's kind of a mess, the whole welding station here. But that little spool gun works pretty good with filling up thicker spots in aluminum or bigger holes in thicker aluminum. Where I was struggling with it is on the thinner stuff. It did not do very well with thin gauged aluminum like the sides of older boat hulls. So that's kind of one of the issues I was having with that jet boat I was working on. Kept burning through it, and then I'd fix it, and then it would end up having little pinholes that I missed. But this one will do flux core steel. It'll also do MIG steel and MIG aluminum and stainless steel as well. Came with a regular MIG gun. I have a spool of flux core in here right now because I don't have the argon CO2 gas mix to do regular steel. But right now it's set up in electrode positive for welding aluminum. So none of that stuff right there is hooked up because it's all running through the spool gun. Got a little switch right there for the regular MIG gun or the spool gun, and it's got the chart up here, the quick reference. Comes in real handy. It'll do 24 gauge steel all the way up to 5/16. So it's got a pretty good range. But where it struggles is with the aluminum. It says you're not supposed to do anything smaller than 16 gauge on here. And I've tried welding smaller than 16 gauge, and it just does not work out too well in your favor. So that left me with doing some research on some welders and trying to see where to go from here, because I do have some thinner stuff that I need to weld. And so that led me to searching on YouTube, different channels, and welding tips and tricks, and there's another one, TIG Time. Watching a lot of their videos, trying to learn how to, or get tips and tricks on welding, and I was kind of interested in doing a TIG welder because I've heard nothing but good things about TIG welding aluminum, and that's kind of the best way to go. So that's what I did today. I went and bought a TIG welder. This thing hasn't even been plugged in yet. I just put it on a cart, same exact cart as the other one. I've never TIG welded before in my life, but I'm a fast learner, pick up stuff pretty quick, so I'm hoping that I can play around with some scrap aluminum because I have an abundance of scrap aluminum. Hoping I can pick it up pretty quick. But this one here is the Lincoln Electric TIG 200 square wave. It's a 200 amp AC/DC TIG welder. It'll also arc weld as well. This one wasn't very cheap. Just the welder alone was $1,400, but it has pretty good reviews online. A couple people I know have it and like it, so I decided I'd give it a try. It's not your industrial welder or whatever, but I work in a hobby garage here. That's all this is just for fun. Make cool stuff. So, pretty excited to try this out. I'm going to play with it here in a couple hours just to see how well it works. But my very first welder was a Harbor Freight Special. It was a 90 amp flux core wire feed welder, flux core, and I used that for about 5 years. Stuck a lot of steel together, and it worked fairly decent for what it was. But I started playing around, and I wanted to get a better welder, so that's why I stepped up to that Hobart. And I don't have thousands and thousands of dollars to throw away at welders, so that's why I didn't get your Miller-Matics and your big fancy industrial use everyday type welders. So I'm all self-taught. Never went to school for any of this, so it's a constant learning curve. And I'm hoping that I can get this TIG welding down at least a little bit, enough to weld on boats and stuff. Maybe make some cool crap. But what was drawing me to TIG welding is the fact that you only need one kind of gas. You only need argon gas. You can weld stainless steel, aluminum, regular steel, all with just argon. This will even do, where's the list here? It says this will weld magnesium, aluminum, steel alloys, stainless, nickel alloys, copper alloys, and titanium. So, and you only need argon gas for that. You get over to the Hobart, and to do aluminum you need 100% argon. To do MIG steel you need argon CO2 mix, 75% argon, 25% CO2. And for stainless steel, I'm not exactly sure what the mix is because I've never looked into it, because I've never welded stainless. So you don't need to spend a whole ton of money. I'm into that Hobart for right around $1,000 with the tank, and well, a little over $1,000, probably around 1,100 total with the tank and the cart and a couple other things. Nice pair of gloves. That's one thing you want to have with welding, is you want to have a nice pair of gloves. Keeps your hands protected. So yeah, have any questions or tips for me on how to what to do and what not to do on TIG welding, because I'm going to start playing with that, let me know. But that's my welding setup for now. Hopefully I'll get a few years or several years out of it. I don't see why I shouldn't. But as always, thanks again for watching, and have a good night.